What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to do a final review of the Cold Steel AD10. So let me first say that I've heard a lot of controversy between Cold Steel's newest knives and the quality not really going along with what Cold Steel has done. Let me just first say that I am not bought and paid for by Cold Steel at all. My opinions here are going to be exactly how I feel about this knife. And let's put it this way, I have not been gentle with this knife in even the least bit. Matter of fact, you could really I would pretty much say that I really have basically been pretty abusive with this knife overall. So, as my work week continued with this knife, I've pretty much flipped the heck out of it to the point where I would even drop it onto the concrete where I, work out of through the course of the day. Just as I did it open and closed, just to see how the knife would respond. And let me tell you, it really, really surprised me. Really held up very nicely overall together. This AD10, I had seen the original AD10s of the drop point, and the fit and finish and everything of this knife is exactly the same as that knife. You got some of the sharper edges back here on your lanyard. It's the same as the other one. There's no question in my mind that this knife was built pretty much the same way, probably the same exact facility that the original drop points were made. So, everything about it is exactly the same. It's a big knife. It fits very big in the pocket. You definitely notice it's a big knife. I carry big knives. I like big knives. But this one, you especially notice it. I think it's a little bit because of the pocket clip. There's just a very wide aspect at the top, and you very much notice it when you're trying to go in your pocket. I keep my phone in my pocket with the knife. So the two are sitting side by side. So you definitely notice the size overall of this knife in your pocket. Slightly disliked it, but for what you're carrying for such a big knife, aggressive knife, it's acceptable, I think. Would I carry this 24/7 now? Probably not. I think overall, the Recon one, which we will compare it to, which is more or less my favorite knife, I think it's a little bit easier to carry than this knife. But I'll tell you what, this knife here, if you want a folding knife to go camping, something along those lines, I think this is a great knife for that. I really do. So we'll take a close look, and you're going to see how the edge very close to the tip rolled just a little bit, and that's where it bounced off the concrete. And we're going to take a look at that here in a second. But overall, I'm not disappointed with this knife. I paid $150 for this knife through DLT. It's a killer deal for $150. Now, I don't think it's going to stay at $150 at all. The suggested retail price, or MSRP, whatever they're calling it these days, I think is about $220, and DLT's regular price is going to be from, I think it was $189. So at $150, I think it was a steal personally. Their light version is also coming out. I don't typically care for light versions just because of the fact that I don't like how the Grivery feels compared to the G10. I prefer the G10 a lot better. Plus, this knife is meant to be aggressive, so having those nice thick steel liners to go along with that triad lock, there's just something about it. You just like a fixed blade, totally. And I just like that. So I prefer to stay with the better materials. I may still look at the light version when it comes out, so I can give my opinion of it. But This one here for, like I said, 150 bucks. It's pretty good. So let's take a close up of it, guys. Okay, guys, so here we are. This is a few weeks of carrying, numerous times of dropping. And I mean, it's totally held up. I mean, I know it's dropped on the handle a few times, pretty much flat side. One of the flat sides down, you can barely tell. I don't know if we're gonna be able to pick up the rolled edge, but right up here by the tip, it is just ever so slightly rolled, and that's because it literally, you can see a little bit of the shadowing, you can feel it, and that's because it literally bounced right off the concrete, and that's pretty good. Yeah, you can really kind of sort of pick it up if you. I'm sure the video once it actually downloads, it might. Sometimes the video looks better than I realize sometimes. But yeah, it took a pretty hard hit on the concrete, and that's just a slight little roll that you can feel on the one side with my fingernail. And that's pretty impressive, I have to say. Action, very, very nice. It really is for such a big, heavy knife. Got to put a little wrist into it, but let's give it a comparison to some of your typical knives up against the Benchmade Reptilian. Like I said, this is a big knife. Most of you guys, I mean, the AD10's been out for a long time. The drop point version, we're just now finally, this further along, we're finally seeing a Tanto version. Kind of funny how Andrew Demko's gone now, and now we see a Tanto. I'm not sure what that's all about, but either way. So there's your comparison at a weird angle, sort of. Let's just kind of move some knives around. But yeah, it's wider, it's taller, it's big all the way around. Now let's bring it up against really my more favorite knife of cold steel, which is the Recon one. The Recon one has it a little bit in length, as you can see, just a little. It's very slight, but the AD10 has it in its tallness overall. It really does. It's a little more of a chunky boy when you do the comparison like that. You can definitely see it. The blade stocks are pretty close to each other. Yeah, I don't think I got tape measure here. So your tallness is definitely about, let's measure it at the pivot there. So you're looking at about 1.5 inches. Yeah, they're pretty close. Well, it's more chunky, I think, than it is anything when you're comparing them. As you can see, definitely in the handle thickness. Because the Recon one obviously doesn't have any liners, which the light version probably won't have any liners, or we'll just have a couple small sections of liner. But overall, guys, I'll tell you, for 150 bucks, I think it's a great deal for this knife. I think you can't go wrong to have it for going camping or something like that. I think it's a pretty cool knife. I mean, and it's definitely built just the way cold steel has been known to be built. I'm not trying to kiss any butt with that. That's just my personal opinion. I definitely think that the temper of this steel S35BN, there's no question. I think it's right on the money. I mean, to just have a little slight roll after bouncing off of concrete, that's pretty impressive. So there you guys go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, guys. Bye.